What's up everyone and welcome to another Warframe video. So Duviri dropped recently and with this comes some really interesting new upgrades to old school Warframe weapons, Incarnon Genesis adapters. These allow these weapons to make use of the Incarnon system added in the Angels of the Zariman. This week there's a number of weapons available, but the focus of this video is the one whose special effects stood out a mile to me, and that is the Incarnon Genesis for the Latron. We're going to be focusing on this in this video on the Latron Prime, since that is the weapon which will get priority for the circuit game mode. It's a weapon that's easily one of the oldest. The Latron Prime, it's a semi-automatic rifle, decent crit stats, alright status. It's been an alright, but not particularly spectacular weapon for quite a long time, so the Incarnon upgrade is there to give it a bit of a helping hand. To add the Incarnon adapter to the weapon, visit Cavallero in the Zariman and use some resources to apply it to the weapon. Unlocking each Incarnon level, the same as in the other Incarnon weapon, complete a few tasks to unlock each level. It's very easy, took me about 15 minutes. First level, you can choose between more multi-shot or damage for each status affecting the target. Second level, minus recoil, 15 more shots in the magazine or minus zoom. And then the third level you go between a headshot multiplier, increase in crit chance and crit damage, or the one that interested me by far the most, and is the focus of this video, 20% reduced armor for each puncture proc applied to a target. The Incarnon transformation though for this is, well, it's bonkers. There's no other way to describe it, just bonkers. Instead of a highly accurate single shot at a time, it fires out a giant ball of death which will hit targets or surfaces and just bounce around, hitting other targets in the process. You can do some really silly things with this, like standing firing around corners with it, or firing into tiny rooms to try and hit the same target multiple times. It's very fun, and very silly, because it is, well, it's a giant ball, but it also means it's an AoE weapon, so you can fire into huge groups of enemies and demolish them all. It is pure fun. Just no other words, pure fun. So let's quickly talk Incarnon selection and the weapon build. I'm going to preface this by saying that there actually are a bunch of ways you could build this. However, the build in this video is what I find to be humongously fun, but also hugely effective. The aim of this build is going to be to turn the Latron Prime into a weapon which works very similarly to old Corrosive, except much better. In terms of the Incarnon picks, we're going to go with Riddle Target for more multi-shot, Extended Volley for magazine size, which is very useful, and then Flensing Spikes for that armor reduction on puncture proc. Then we're going to be building with this in mind. Now, before I put the build on screen, I'm going to preface this by saying it looks bonkers, but bear with me, there is method in the madness. Crit build with critical delay, vital sense, and hammer shot, and hammer shots providing crit damage and status chance, which is really helpful. Galvanized Aptitude is going to work with that to boost our status chance a bit further, as well as give us the direct damage of increase of the projectiles. Raw damage is going to be Serration and Heavy Cal. Fun side effect of the Heavy Cal is that the projectile is incredibly chaotic. Generally, it's pretty amusing to play with. And then I do have a Riven on this with multi-shot and crit damage, however you can replace this with Prime Shred for fire rate and the punch through to help stack the Incarnon mode a little bit faster. So you will have noticed, and before the comments mention, there are no elementals on here. That's treasonous, right? Well, honestly, we don't want to dilute our status procs down. We want as many puncture procs as possible to remove enemy armor as quickly as possible. It's such a weird looking build, I know, I really do get it, but it is massively effective, as you can see in the footage. So with that said, is it worth investing into your Latron Prime? Yes, and I will say it again, yes it is. I'll be very honest here, I absolutely did not have Latron Prime becoming a meta weapon on this year's bingo card, but well, here we are. Just take a look at the footage, look at all the numbers, look at all the status procs. This is the most satisfied I've been using a weapon since maybe the OG Brammer before its nerfs. And what's silly is, it's genuinely good. It would strip the armor off, well, anything, Sentients, Acolytes, Exami, some bosses, the bosses that are actually armor strippable, although not Archons apparently, which is a bit of a shame. But what's even better is, like I said earlier, it's pretty hard to go wrong with this thing. Mod it for multi-shot crit and status without diluting your procs with other statuses, and you're actually going to be golden. Another way to build this, drop Prime Shred or Heavy Cal and put in the Conclave mod Double Tap. For the times where you want to use just the primary fire, mostly against bosses really, With all of those upgrades and double tap, you can stack that mod so quickly and do some frankly very silly damage, especially since the multi-shot is going to increase the rate at which you build the double tap buff. It is incredibly effective. Honestly, like I said before, Latron Prime being a meta pick was not something I expected, but boy, I'm glad that it became one. I've always kind of loved this weapon, but the way Warframe plays kind of mean it fell by the wayside for so long. Single target weapons in an AoE heavy game is always a little bit rough. But now, if you have heavily armoured enemies to deal with, and you need something that's going to shred not only the target you're shooting at, but the people next to them as well as, you know, the people 3 rooms over when the projectile accidentally bounces in there, then the Latron Prime with its Incarnon upgrade is 100% worth the investment. So I hope you enjoyed my look at the Latron Prime with its Incarnon upgrade. I'm looking at the Furies for a video in the next few days. Looks like it might be an interesting one as well, so stay tuned for that. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I shall see you in the next video.